Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Triple-digit temperatures and an extreme heat warning had San Diego County sizzling today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The blistering heat is especially dangerous for children who are just back in school for the fall semester. KPBS education reporter MG Perez takes us north and east to districts in the hot zone.
It's cool to be in school today here at Mount Carmel High in the Poway Unified School District. All PE classes were moved inside or outside to the school pool. Any place to beat the heat and survive in air conditioning.
It's nice. I mean, we've got the air conditioning, so it's it's cooler and stuff. So better than it being outside in like 100-degree weather.
I go outdoors a lot, but not recently because it's hot. Yeah. I also have baseball practice later. It's gonna suck.
School administrators kept students off the tennis courts and protected as much as possible because most of these teenagers have never experienced this kind of heat wave.
The hard part about this heat is they don't grow up in it. It just hits them one day, it's 80, 80, 80, and then boom, 100, and our bodies aren't ready for that.
The extreme heat is more than just an inconvenience. It's a health hazard, which means it could provide a teachable moment for students.
The one in the pan is cooking better than the one on the blacktop.
These second-grade students here at Hill Creek Elementary in the Santee School District are scientists this week. Their latest experiment includes a hypothesis and observation of fried eggs. It is that hot in Santee right now. Yesterday, they melted crayons. Most learning is happening in air-conditioned classrooms or in the shade, whatever it takes to stay safe.
They're checking in with students and staff to make sure that all of our kids, especially our medically fragile kids, are getting enough water throughout the day. They're staying indoors or in the shade, and then they're reporting any heat-related illnesses.
Back at Mount Carmel High, they are scoring much cooler baskets on the court today. Are you a better basketball player?
I was never really a better basketball player, so.
MG Perez, KPBS News.
And as the heat continues, SDG&E has some tips on how to save energy while keeping cool. First is to turn your thermostat to 78 degrees. And if that's not cool enough, you can use fans to circulate air while putting less strain on the power grid. And while the utility says it's not received a flex alert from the state yet, customers should start planning ahead now by closing blinds and unplugging gaming consoles to avoid heating their home.
While there's no call for conservation, it's just always a good habit to get into. As far as conditions look right now, we don't anticipate any public safety power shutoffs in the next 7 days.
And power shutoffs only happen when there are concerns over debris or fallen trees hitting power lines, sparking a wildfire. But SDG&E officials anticipate shutoffs could come in October.
Well, that heat, it's sticking around at least through Wednesday evening, and we do still have excessive heat warnings out further inland, areas like Ramona down through Alpine and then across the deserts as well. But even for the mountains, things are still hot. There is a heat advisory in effect for the mountainous terrain, including Mount Laguna, so it is going to be quite toasty even throughout our day on Wednesday. We're going to tell you where temperatures go, and when we cool off, come in.
San Diego County wants to help find solutions to the child care crisis. Today, county leaders published a blueprint on ways to address the issue. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne says the plan aims to help parents looking for affordable care as well as give providers a livable wage.
The blueprint announced today in front of the county building has 3 goals.
First, childcare workforce support training and competitive wages, which is extremely important for our communities. childcare facility expansion and renovation, and increase access to childcare for all families.
County Supervisor Nora Vargas says the average annual cost of infant care in California is nearly $17,000. Almost $9,000 more than tuition for an in-state public college. But at the same time, child care providers are facing staffing shortages.
Those in the childcare workforce are also struggling to earn a livable wage, and that's not acceptable. Research shows that in San Diego County, the median hourly wage for childcare providers is $15.11.
The ratio of staff to children has to be small so that kids get the care they need. But that means childcare businesses have to hire a lot of staff, which costs money. If they raise their rates, parents can't pay. So they have to balance those rates with paying staff as much as possible.
That's one thing that we do face in our school is affordability. Parents are working and half of their income is paying towards childcare. And another thing is, like she was saying, is the teachers, they come and there's like a flip over because they're coming at low wages.
Supervisor Vargas says the blueprint represents the needs of the community, parents, and child care providers. A recent study showed almost half of children under 5 whose parents work have no available licensed child care option. And it found almost 70% of children who are eligible for a subsidy are not enrolled in a subsidized child care program. Vargas says the next steps are to go after funding and support.
Childcare has to be a public good. It shouldn't be something that only moms or parents are thinking about. Politicians have to think about it. Business owners have to think about it. Educators have to think about it. Our communities have to think about it together so that we can find the solutions because it impacts all of us.
County leaders will work on the plans over the next 2 years. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
$250,000 from the Biden administration infrastructure bill is coming to Vista. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen has more on what local officials plan to do with that money.
With trains, cars, buses, bicyclists, and pedestrians, Vista Village at the Vista Transit Center is very busy. But with $250,000 from the Department of Transportation, the city of Vista can finally do something about it.
This is a really important investment in part of Vista that sometimes can get overlooked.
Congressman Mike Levin was instrumental in securing that funding.
Behind us, the Vista Transit Center, so important that we provide more options and alternatives for everybody moving around the city of Vista and throughout North County.
Vista Deputy Mayor Corina Contreras says the funds will help improve the safety and quality of life for the people living in the area.
We have a very busy fire station right up Vista Way, Fire Station 6. They need to be able to cross quickly. And with the grade separation, there will be no conflict between the train going every 15 minutes and our first responders accessing this critical corridor.
As you can see right now, the track crosses the road, which means every time a train comes, it stops traffic. What this money will do is allow Vista to study grade separation, where a train can pass underneath the road without impeding traffic. Currently, Solana Beach is the only city in the county with grade separation between the tracks and the roads. Carlsbad is looking at doing the same. Longtime train commuter Noe Castilla supports the plan.
I think it's a good idea. I'm helping traffic while the train station is still going, so you have two methods of transportation moving equally.
And it will help make the intersection safer for pedestrians. According to the latest report by the San Diego County Medical Examiner's Office, 14 people were killed on the tracks in the county in 2021. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The City of San Diego's new Police Oversight Commission will hold its first meeting tonight. The 25-member Commission on Police Practices will review complaints about police misconduct, plus officer-involved shootings and in-custody deaths. It will also eventually have the power to launch independent investigations and subpoena witnesses. The new commission was overwhelmingly approved by voters in 2020. City Council members have faced criticism for taking nearly 3 years to seat the new commission. Meanwhile, an interim commission has struggled to keep up with reviewing complaints against officers. There is a backlog of more than 100 unreviewed cases. California Senate leader and San Diego Democrat Toni Atkins is stepping down from her leadership post. Atkins is the first woman and first openly gay person to lead the state Senate. She will be replaced by State Senator Mike McGuire. McGuire authored a law requiring gubernatorial candidates to disclose their tax returns. He's also been an outspoken critic of Pacific Gas and Electric. The transition will take place sometime next year. A court dispute has stalled the process of replacing Randy Mize, who retired as public defender in June. KPBS's Amita Sharma says a local judge is alleging the county has misinterpreted a key statute in a way that disqualifies him as a candidate.
Superior Court Judge Michael Washington applied to be the county's next public defender in June, but the county won't consider him for the job because of its interpretation of a 1947 government code. The statute says a person is not eligible for the office unless they were a practicing attorney in, quote, the year preceding the date of his election or appointment. But Washington's lawyer, Michael Conger, says the law is unclear.
It could mean in the exact year before, or it could mean at least 1 year experience, which is what I think it means.
Conger says Washington worked for 19 years as the deputy public defender in San Diego and 10 years on the bench.
So he's eminently qualified, and it would be ironic if that's interpreted to mean a 26-year-old could get it, the job, but not a very experienced person.
County officials did not respond to a request for comment. Controversy has dogged the public defender's office this year. In January, a jury awarded $2.6 million to former deputy public defender Zach Davina in his lawsuit against the county, alleging discrimination and retaliation. Davina is gay. In February, the county paid $900,000 to former deputy public defender Michelle Reynoso to settle a similar suit. In March, the county hired San Diego law firm Myers Nave to investigate complaints of unprofessional conduct, unlawful discrimination, and retaliation in the office. 1 month later, Mize announced his retirement as public defender. Washington's case will be heard in an Orange County court to avoid any conflict of interest, since he is a sitting judge in San Diego. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
The National Weather Service says Idalia has the makings of an unprecedented event for Florida's Big Bend region. The storm is set to make landfall sometime tomorrow as a dangerous Category 3 hurricane. And Gloria Pazmino reports.
Florida in the direct path of a rapidly intensifying storm.
This is going to be a major hurricane, likely a Category 3.
The first major hurricane set to make landfall in the U.S. this year. Idalia is threatening millions with potentially deadly storm surges and heavy flooding.
The #1 killer in all of these storms is water. Whether it's the storm surge that's going to happen at the coast or the excessive rainfall that might happen inland that causes urban flash flooding.
The National Hurricane Center is predicting wind speeds well over 100 miles per hour, which could lead to widespread power outages.
You're going to see power lines knocked down, and it's just going to require a concerted efforts.
Evacuations are underway in at least 22 counties as coastal communities brace for the worst.
Don't try to be a hero and ride it out. If they tell you to get out of there, please get out of there and do it now.
Local, state, and federal agencies are mobilizing ahead of anticipated search and rescue, power restoration, and recovery efforts.
We will continue to move forces in to be ready to respond at Florida's request to come in after the storm passes.
But as the storm quickly approaches, officials warn the time to prepare is running out.
Whatever you decide is the best for yourself and your family, again, the action is now. You must do it now.
Gloria Pazmino, KPBS News.
The Street Health Team from Father Joe's Villages is a small but trusted group of outreach workers and medical professionals, and they provide care and support to the unsheltered community in downtown San Diego. KPBS reporter Melissa May says as the city enforces its unsafe camping ordinance, the team faces even more challenges.
On a recent day in downtown San Diego, the Father Joe's Villages Street Health Team gets ready to head out in their van, nicknamed Florence Nightingale, to check in with their homeless clients.
That area is typically which team will send out where.
I know that my team is out there doing good work and helping people connect the dots to get the care they need.
Monday through Friday, twice a day, Supervisor Jennifer Wilkins and her team work on building relationships with the homeless community by showing up and following through with the goal of getting them into shelter.
When they tell Michelle, hey, I'm considering getting into shelter. Can you tell me what that looks like? What are my options? That's success. When we start having those meaningful conversations about what they can do to start making some progress, that's success.
You wouldn't know it by looking at them, but both Wilkins and her street health teammate, Michelle Lefevre, overcame addiction themselves. Also formerly homeless, Lefevre says her outreach work is a way of living amends for her past.
I understand my clients. Like, I've been where they've been. I understand what it means to, to that need to hide the pain, use, substances as a solution. I get all that. But now also what I get is I get that there is like life after that if you work hard for it. And I think that's what makes me bond with my clients.
According to the San Diego District Attorney's Office, homeless San Diegans are 118 times more likely than the general population to die of a drug overdose. Each member of the team carries a backpack. One has medical supplies as well as Narcan and other medications to reverse overdoses. Another carries more basic necessities, which they call tools of engagement.
When walking up to people, they look at us and they're just like, don't bother me, right? But, how does that look if I walk up, carrying a water and a snack? So sometimes this could be the... we want them to get their COVID shots. but this could mean whether or not they stick their head outside the tent, or whether they're just like...
Those tools and connections go a long way. They can eventually lead clients to reveal personal information that makes it easier for the team to follow up and track their progress.
So that we can get people registered and into the system so that we can document on them later.
Father Joe's psychiatrist, Dr. Safi Ahmed, says many unsheltered residents have anxiety, depression, and likely experienced some form of trauma. He credits the team's ability to break down barriers.
They're the hero for building those connections. That's probably the biggest issue, trust, and building that rapport. Some of these people have been really hurt and abused their whole lives, and trust is hard to build, and so the outreach team does that. Once that's built, that's when I come in.
We're getting a little backstory.
In the last year, the team has helped move about 20 people into permanent housing and almost 60 into shelters. But thousands more still live on the street. And with the city's new unsafe camping ordinance, the team says it's made their job more difficult.
This is supposed to be a solution to help, not to hinder. And when clients are actually willing to receive that help, and that's not the first thing that's being offered, it's heart-wrenching. And so for us as a street health team, it's been hard to find our clients. It's been hard to find our patients.
When asked for a response to this, a City of San Diego spokesperson said in part, the goal of the unsafe camping ordinance is to communicate that our sidewalks are not an acceptable place to live, and to encourage unhoused people to work with their case managers to get on a path to end their homelessness. We're seeing success on that front. Seeing the homeless crisis on an intimate level day after day, the street outreach team says the first step to solving homelessness is getting more boots on the ground to build that trust and ultimately move people off the street and into housing. Melissa May, KPBS News.
And tomorrow we'll meet a few of the team's clients, including a formerly homeless woman who's now in her own apartment. COVID cases are on the rise in the U.S., but there may be a silver lining in the outlook for infections moving forward. Experts say while COVID is still more deadly than the flu, it's less risky to catch it than it used to be. And that is due in part to the virus having changed our immunity. The CDC estimates 97% of Americans have some degree of immunity to COVID through vaccination, infection, or through both. This as advisors are set to meet September 12th to discuss whether to recommend an updated COVID booster.
What we anticipate is that the people that will be on the list encouraged to get it will be people who are older, people who are immunocompromised. Those will be the people that should be first in line to get it. And then we'll learn from CDC who's next on the list.
Experts say the booster will target Omicron variants. It could be available by mid-September. California is investing $3 million in an effort to predict when ocean waters near Imperial Beach might be contaminated. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson explains.
San Diego researchers are in the process of developing a forecasting tool that'll predict when the ocean will be full of pathogens. The ocean off the coast of Imperial Beach has suffered decades of contamination that includes trash, toxic chemicals, and untreated sewage. Government's response has been tepid.
Over 110 billion gallons of sewage have poured into the coastline here in Imperial Beach since 2018. So we asked the president, do all communities deserve the right to clean water, or only a few? We asked the same question here in the state of California. It would be unacceptable, and it is unacceptable, for a beach to be closed as long as it's been here anywhere else in our country, anywhere else in California.
The forecast tool won't stop the flow of contaminants, but it could help local officials let residents and tourists know when high risks are coming. Researchers will combine the talents of biological and physical oceanographers.
We anticipate having 5-day forecasts of the pathogen loads at the beach and human health risk, so that the vision is that a local family or tourist can look at an app and see, just like you can see with a weather model or with weather predictions, whether it's a good idea to take your kids to the beach on the weekend.
San Diego researchers have already developed a physical model that shows how ocean and estuary currents can move pollution along the coastline. The new model will incorporate how long target pathogens survive in the ocean.
We'll conduct regular water sampling at beach and coastal locations to pinpoint the types of pathogens that are present and their abundances. We'll also sample extreme events such as heavy rainfall and associated runoff.
The model is expected to help determine whether capital projects aimed at reducing contamination will help. San Diego state lawmakers got funding for the project into the latest state budget. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
As temperatures rise in our county, humans aren't the only ones trying to find relief from the heat. Bruce is with Snake Wranglers, which is a snake relocation service funded 100% by donations. And he says trails can be a prime spot to encounter rattlesnakes year-round, but they're spotted more often when it's warmer.
San Diego, we have such fabulous weather. We don't get the low, low lows. We don't get the high, high highs. But snakes typically are going to be out roaming around when we're comfortable in a t-shirt. So if we've got to put a hoodie on or a jacket, they're probably going to be not cruising around. If it gets this hot, they're looking for shade.
The Snake Wrangler says they've received more calls since Tropical Storm Hillary passed through San Diego. He believes the rain forced snakes out of underground burrows and into our yards.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines, what you need to know over these next few days. That heat sticks around through Wednesday, so if you're tired of it, well, gear up for one more day. Though we are expecting a late week cool off, which is the good news. So the heat isn't going to stick around forever, of course. We are going to start to cool down for the later half of the week, though those low clouds and that fog will return, especially there along the coastal regions over these next few days, but it's going to gradually spread inland too as well. Here's your weather alerts out through Wednesday evening. It's still going to be quite hot outside, dangerously hot. There's an excessive heat warning for areas further inland from Ramona down through Alpine, and then even across the deserts, Borrego Springs. Heat advisory also in effect though for the mountainous terrain. So heads up, areas like Mount Laguna, it's still going to be quite toasty outside. And here's some hot weather safety, ways to beat the heat. Drink plenty of water, avoid strenuous activity, stay out of direct sunlight, wear light colored clothing, and stay in places with air conditioning. Take plenty of cooling breaks. All right, tonight around San Diego, we're dropping down to a low of 65. Around the rest of the region, while Oceanside 63 for the low, Ramona 65, Borrego Springs just dropping down to a low of 86. But as we head into tomorrow, while things are still quite hot, Borrego Springs 109, Ramona 100, San Diego 79, so not too bad. If you want to escape that heat, maybe travel towards the coast. But we are going to cool down quite a bit. We're dropping from the high 80s on Tuesday to the low 80s on Wednesday, and then Thursday we're in the 70s. So overall, again, not anticipating any major impacts with the heat across the coast, as that heat is starting to be tampered with, or at least beat down. As we head further inland, though, we still have another day where it's going to be quite toasty, high 96, but we do come back down to the 80s by Thursday. For the mountains, well, we're dropping down to the low 60s even by the beginning of the weekend, so we are cooling down quite a bit from where we were. I know highs earlier on in the week were in the 80s in the mountains, and then for the deserts, we're gradually going to come back down to the 90s by Friday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
The aroma of a rare flower is drawing large crowds to the Huntington Library and Botanical Gardens in San Marino. They're showing up to get a whiff of a corpse flower, which gets its name due to smelling just like some rotting flesh. And as it turns out, there's actually an evolutionary reason for the stinky scent.
It's trying to attract carrion flies to come pollinate it. So the more it can get that smell out, the more flies it attracts, the better the plant does.
Corpse flowers only bloom every few years, and when they do, you can only enjoy their putrid stench for about 48 hours. No thanks, not for me. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. When it comes to climate change, some species are thriving. On NPR's Morning Edition, how the warming climate is strengthening the growth of poison ivy. And KPBS Midday Edition is recognizing the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.